Welcome back to our channel on this absolutely beautiful day where the drama is hotter than the Los Angeles sun and the fashion houses are burning to the ground right before our very eyes. We have so much to unpack today because the foundations of everything we know are cracking and splintering into a million pieces. Electra feels the walls closing in on her in a literal sense as the fluorescent lights of the Forrester Creations design office seem to buzz louder and louder in her ears, while Ridge stands there with his arms crossed, delivering the kind of news that shatters a young designer's soul into a million jagged little pieces. Ridge tells her that her jewelry line is being suspended indefinitely because the company has to pivot all of its resources to deal with the massive existential threat that is the House of Logan. Electra is falling into a state of extreme panic because this jewelry line was not just a side project or a hobby, but it was her entire identity and her chance to finally step out of the shadows and prove that she belongs in this cutthroat industry. She can physically feel her chest tightening as the words wash over her, and she realizes that all those late nights sketching and sourcing gems and pouring her heart out onto the drafting table were for absolutely nothing. She feels deeply betrayed by Will Spencer, who is standing right there looking at her with those big guilty eyes, knowing full well that he is the reason her career has just slammed into a brick wall. Will hid information about the rival Logan collection from her for weeks while they were sharing meals and sharing secrets and sharing a bed. Will knew that his father Bill and his mother Katie were plotting this massive launch, and he knew that Hope was going to be the centerpiece of it all. But he kept his mouth shut because he thought he was protecting his family's business interests. Electra cannot even comprehend how the man who claims to love her could watch her work so hard on a Forrester collection while knowing that his own family was about to drop a nuclear bomb that would cause her career to stall completely. In her rage, Electra begins to exhibit severely unstable psychological manifestations, and she completely loses control of her physical body as the sheer weight of the betrayal crashes down on her shoulders. She is throwing design portfolios across the room and screaming at the top of her lungs with tears streaming down her face because the pain of being backstabbed by the person you trust most is a unique kind of agony that literally rewires your brain. She is pacing back and forth like a caged animal, and her breathing is shallow and frantic as she hurls accusations at Will, who just stands there taking it because he knows he has absolutely no defense for what he did. Electra is spiraling into a dark and terrifying place that reminds everyone in the room of the trauma she has endured in the past, and it is genuinely frightening to watch a brilliant young woman break apart at the seams. Ridge is watching this entire psychotic freak out unfold, and he is rubbing his temples because he is a man who is already carrying the weight of a dying fashion empire on his back, and he simply does not have the patience for teenage melodrama in his design office. Ridge steps forward and his voice cuts through the screaming like a knife as he issues a brutal ultimatum, demanding that Electra completely end her relationship with Will right this very second if she wants to have any future at Forrester Creations. Ridge makes it crystal clear that he will not tolerate a Spencer spy wandering the halls of his company and infecting his designers with their toxic family drama. Electra is frozen in place as the reality of Ridge's demands sinks in, and she realizes she has to choose between the career she has bled for and the boy who just broke her heart into 1,000 irreparable pieces. RJ appears like a hero, swooping into the room to protect her from a total physical and emotional collapse, just as her knees start to buckle under the pressure of the ultimatum. RJ wraps his arms around her shaking frame and pulls her into his chest, offering her a solid wall of warmth and safety while glaring daggers at Will over her shoulder. RJ is playing the Superman role perfectly, and he knows exactly what to say to make her feel validated and protected in her moment of absolute vulnerability. He whispers that she is safe now and that Will is exactly the kind of sleazy, greedy Spencer they always knew he was, which is a brilliant piece of psychological manipulation disguised as comfort. This dramatic rescue only makes Electra more confused because her mind is a chaotic mess of grief and anger, and she is torn between her hurtful past love and the calculating comfort from a man who has been waiting patiently for this exact opportunity. Electra knows deep down that RJ has his own agenda and that he has been circling her relationship with Will like a vulture waiting for it to die, but right now she is too exhausted to push him away. She leans into RJ and lets him hold her up while Will watches with a look of pure devastation on his face, realizing that he has just handed the woman he loves right into the arms of his worst enemy. Electra is trapped in a suffocating love triangle where every choice feels like a trap and every embrace feels like a manipulation, and she just wants to close her eyes and make the whole world disappear. Brooke Logan cannot sit still watching Katie and Hope betray her on live TV as the broadcast of the House of Logan runway show plays on the massive flat screen in her office. Brooke is pacing the floor with her hands clenched into fists, and her eyes are wide with a mixture of absolute disbelief and a terrifying kind of maternal rage that is bubbling up from the darkest corners of her soul. She watches her own flesh and blood strut down that runway wearing the Hope for the Future diamond, and every smile Hope flashes at the cameras feels like a physical slap across Brooke's face. Brooke feels like she is suffocating because the two women she loves most in this world have conspired behind her back to humiliate her and destroy the legacy she fought so hard to build at Forrester Creations. She begins executing a ruthless revenge plan because Brooke Logan is not a woman who cries in the corner when she is wronged, but rather she is a woman who burns the entire city to the ground to get what she wants. Brooke sits down at her desk and starts making phone calls using her massive personal influence and decades of industry connections to pressure major retail partners across the globe. She is speaking in that soft, breathy voice of hers, but the words she is saying are absolute poison as she forces these massive department stores and exclusive boutiques to reject the new Logan collection. Brooke implies very heavily that any retailer who dares to stock Katie's new line will find themselves permanently cut off from all future Forrester Creations couture collections, which is a threat that no buyer in their right mind can afford to ignore. Katie discovers the incident when her lead distributor calls her in a panic to cancel their massive initial order, citing unforeseen complications with their Forrester contracts. Katie is a smart woman, and it takes her exactly 3 seconds to put the puzzle pieces together and realize that her older sister is actively trying to strangle her new company in its crib. Katie's blood runs cold, and then it boils over into a fiery rage as she realizes the sheer audacity of Brooke trying to destroy her business just because she is throwing a temper tantrum over Hope's career choices. Katie does not hesitate for a single moment before she storms out of the Logan building and marches straight into Forrester Creations, looking like a general ready to lead her troops into a bloody battle. Katie storms into Brooke's office and she does not even bother to knock before she throws the heavy wooden doors open so hard they crash against the walls. The air in the room instantly turns to ice as the two sisters lock eyes, and the fiery argument ignites before Katie even fully crosses the threshold. Katie accuses Brooke of being a vindictive tyrant who cannot stand to see anyone else succeed unless she is the one pulling the strings and taking the credit. Katie screams that Brooke is acting like a monster and that sabotaging her own family's business is a new low, even for a woman who has spent her entire life stepping on other people to get to the top. Brooke stands up from her desk and she does not back down an inch as she glares at her younger sister with eyes that are devoid of any warmth or familial love. Brooke declares with absolute terrifying certainty that she will not stop this campaign of retail destruction until Katie is literally kneeling on the floor begging for an apology. Brooke demands that Katie return Hope to Forrester Creations where she belongs, and she says it with the kind of arrogant entitlement that makes Katie want to physically reach across the desk and shake some sense into her. Brooke honestly believes that she is the victim in all of this, and that she is entirely justified in ruining Katie's life because Katie dared to offer Hope a better opportunity than the scraps Steffi was throwing her. The Logan sister relationship officially turns into a life or death war as the screaming match echoes down the hallways of the executive suite for everyone to hear. There is no coming back from the things they are saying to each other because these are not just angry words, but they are deep foundational attacks on each other's character and history. Katie tells Brooke that she will never kneel for her and that Hope is a grown woman who escaped the toxic, suffocating grip of a mother who uses her children as pawns in her endless corporate games. Brooke retaliates by telling Katie that she is nothing but a pathetic shadow trying to steal the spotlight, and the sheer cruelty of the insult hangs in the air like a toxic cloud. This apocalyptic sisterly warfare pushes Donna into an incredibly difficult position of having to choose sides between her blood sisters, which is the absolute last thing she ever wanted to do. Donna is the quintessential middle child who has spent her entire life trying to be the peacemaker and the glue that holds the Logan family together through all of their endless tragedies and scandals. Donna is standing in the doorway of Brooke's office with tears streaming down her face, begging them to stop screaming and reminding them that they are family and that life is too short for this kind of hatred. Nobody is listening to Donna because nobody ever listens to Donna when the knives come out and the blood starts flowing. Donna is trapped in a nightmare because she works at Logan and she knew about Hope's secret contract, but she is married to Eric, who is the patriarch of the Forrester empire that is currently bleeding out. Eric is already furious with Donna for keeping secrets, and her marriage is hanging by a thread because she tried to be loyal to Katie and Hope instead of warning her husband about the impending corporate attack. Donna realizes with a sickening drop in her stomach that she cannot stay neutral in this war, and that whoever she chooses to support will result in the permanent loss of the other sister. Donna drops her face into her hands and sobs uncontrollably as she watches the two people she loves most in the world tear each other to shreds over dresses and diamonds and bruised egos. Why does it always have to come down to this in Los Angeles, where love and business are so deeply intertwined that you cannot tell where the boardroom ends and the bedroom begins? Electra is crying in RJ's arms while Will stands there looking like a ghost, and Ridge is barking orders to salvage whatever is left of his company's dignity. Brooke is acting like a mafia boss threatening international retailers, while Katie is standing her ground like a warrior queen refusing to bow to a tyrant. Every single relationship in this building is fracturing under the pressure of the House of Logan debut, and there is absolutely no end in sight to the carnage. Will Spencer walks out of the design office feeling like he has just been hit by a freight train because he honestly believed he could navigate the impossible line between his family's secrets and his girlfriend's trust. Will is young and he is arrogant, and he thought he could control the narrative, but he forgot that in this town, the truth always comes out and it always destroys the people who try to hide it. Will realizes that he has lost Electra probably forever, and that RJ has swooped in to claim the prize, while Will is left standing in the rubble of his own terrible decisions. Will has to go back to his father, Bill, and tell him that the Logan victory cost him the woman he loves, but Bill will probably just tell him that it is the price of doing business because Bill Spencer does not understand the concept of a broken heart. RJ is holding Electra and he is whispering sweet nothings into her ear, but his eyes are cold and calculating as he looks over her head at the empty doorway where Will just exited. RJ has won the battle for Electra's affection, but he knows that her heart is still tied to Will and that he is going to have to work incredibly hard to sever that connection completely. RJ is using her trauma and her vulnerability to his advantage, which is a classic Forrester move, and he feels absolutely no guilt about it because he believes he is the better man. RJ is completely ignoring the fact that he was just pursuing Melissa Dillon a few days ago because Dillon was just a placeholder until Electra finally realized that Will was a loser. Brooke picks up the phone again the second Katie storms out of the office because Brooke is relentless and she will not let a little thing like a screaming match deter her from her ultimate goal. Brooke is dialing the CEO of the largest department store chain in Europe, and she is preparing to deliver another veiled threat disguised as a friendly business proposition. Brooke is entirely consumed by her obsession with getting Hope back, and she cannot see the massive collateral damage she is causing to her own soul and to the family she claims to love. Brooke is burning bridges that took decades to build, and she is doing it all with a smile on her face because she believes she is the righteous victim in a world full of traitors. Katie walks back to the Logan building with her head held high, but her hands are shaking so badly she can barely hold her phone to text Bill about the retail sabotage. Katie knows that she has just declared all-out war on the most powerful woman in the fashion industry, and that Brooke will use every dirty trick in the book to destroy her. Katie is terrified, but she is also exhilarated because for the first time in her life, she is not backing down and she is not letting Brooke dictate the terms of her existence. Katie is ready to fight dirty if she has to, and she knows that with Bill Spencer backing her up, she has a fighting chance to actually win this war and cement her legacy once and for all. The collateral damage of this war is spreading like a virus through the lives of everyone connected to these two families. Steffi is venting to Finn about Hope being a traitor, and Ridge is benching entire collections while Eric is isolating himself in his mansion, feeling betrayed by his own wife. The fashion industry is watching this bloodbath with morbid fascination as the Forresters and the Logans rip each other apart on the public stage. There are no winners in a war like this, because even if Katie manages to save her company or Brooke manages to force Hope back to Forrester, the emotional scars will never heal. Elektra is just one casualty in a long line of victims who have been crushed under the wheels of the Forrester and Logan machines. She just wanted to design beautiful jewelry and make a name for herself, but instead she is caught in a web of corporate espionage and romantic manipulation that has pushed her to the brink of a total mental breakdown. Elektra looks at the sketches of her bench jewelry line and she feels a profound sense of loss that has nothing to do with gold or diamonds and everything to do with the loss of her innocence. She realizes that she can never trust Will again, and she is not entirely sure she can trust RJ either, but she has to survive in this building. And right now, RJ is the only life raft she has left. This is the reality of life in this glamorous, toxic, beautiful nightmare of a city where the people you love are the ones most likely to destroy you. We will be watching every single moment of this fallout as the battle lines are drawn and the weapons are chosen. Stay tuned because the war has only just begun and there is so much more devastation to come.